Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Lauren. You are watching The Valentines, where we cover all things homegrown and homemade. And today's video is another soap video because I have a soap business, but this soap today is a really special one. It is a Bastille breast milk soap for my baby. A BBB, Baby Bastille breast milk soap. Anyway, I am going to be talking a little bit about why I'm using my breast milk, what is a Bastille soap, the formulation that I'm using. So if you don't want to hear all that and you just want to skip ahead to the how-to and whatever, I do have chapters on this video, so you can do that. I've actually already made the soap. It's here in this mold. You could see it. And so now I'm coming back and filming the intro and talking a little bit about this. If you hear background noise, I do apologize. We're having yard work done, but now is the time that I have to make this video, so we must move forward. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about what is a Bastille soap, first of all. So a lot of people are familiar with the term Castile soap, which has kind of been made famous by Dr. Bronner's, which is kind of funny though, because it's not traditionally actually a Castile soap. And I might be funny on the pronunciation, Castile, so sorry about that. But anyway, traditional Castile soap is named for the region in Spain where it was invented, and it is known amongst soap makers, especially as an 100% olive oil soap. So that's a Castile soap, but with a C. But today we are making Bastille soap with a B. And what is the difference there? Well, Bastille was kind of, it's just a term kind of lovingly made up by soap makers. So instead of it being a 100% olive oil soap, it is 70% olive oil soap. And then you pick the other 30% blend of oils that you would like to use for it. Why am I making Bastille for the baby? Well, there's a lot of benefits of this. A mostly olive oil soap is going to be one of the most mild, most conditioning soaps that you can make with any oil. It's one of the best oils to use for that. And in my case today, I'm doing 70% olive oil, 20% avocado oil, and then 10% shea butter. So mostly olive oil soaps are really great for sensitive skin, aka babies. It's really great for eczema. And like I said, it's going to be very conditioning and very moisturizing. It's not highly cleansing. Something like, for example, in a coconut oil. Coconut oil is highly cleansing, but what that also means is it can be very stripping to the skin, to the oils of the skin, and a little bit more harsh. Totally fine for recipes for adults and to be used as a percentage of a recipe because it does make a great soap. But because of those reasons, I'm just omitting it for sensitive baby skin, right? I chose avocado oil as another element for a couple of reasons. I have a ton of it on hand, and is also a very nurturing, very mild oil. It has a little bit of different fatty acid makeup than the olive oil. So I thought that would be a great blend to put in there. And then the shea butter, lastly, is the only hard oil that I'm using. And I included that mostly to decrease the blend time and bring the recipe to trace faster. And to give you a little bit of background on that, both avocado oil and olive oil, which is the bulk of my recipe, are liquid oils at room temperature, which means they are made up of unsaturated fats. Liquid oils, by their nature, take a lot longer time to come to trace or harden up, so you end up using your stick blender for a lot longer. Butters like mango butter, cacao butter, shea butter, which I'm using, they are normally solid at room temperature because they are saturated fats. And because they're already solid, they harden up quicker into the soap bar. So I thought, well, let me at least add about 10% shea butter to help reduce the amount of time that I need to stick blend this to make it come into a batter that is going to be, you know, the emulsification of saponification and then ready to pour into the mold. Okay, so that's kind of my reasoning behind the 3 different oils that I'm using in this recipe. Now, a little word on breast milk, why I am using breast milk. So milks in general are amazing to use in soaps. They increase the fat content of soaps. They increase the sugar content, which kind of helps with a little bit of bubble. And they create a really just beautiful lather. I am using breast milk that is my own breast milk that I've pumped. That I have saved in frozen bags, and I don't just use my good best breast milk for this. What I do is we collect some. My husband gives the baby a bottle every day, but there's always like a little bit left in the bottom that the baby doesn't get. So I save that rather than throwing it out. Or for example, if I've eaten something that the baby has a sensitivity to, like I found out that the baby was sensitive to chicken for a while, so I had saved that milk that I had pumped and labeled it as chicken, and I'm using that in the soap batches. So anyway, I'm using my frozen leftover breast milk, and breast milk is fantastic for baby skin. There's actually a lot of modern scientific studies about that. It's great for eczema. And so we actually dumped breast milk in the water when we bathe our baby anyway, and I just thought, let's use it for soap. This is a popular thing. A lot of other people do this, so I haven't come up with this myself. I also just think it makes more sense to use human soap, more sense to use human milk for human babies. Goat milk soap is hugely popular. I also make a coconut milk soap. I'll link that video in case you're interested. People make cow's milk soap all the time. But I guarantee you that my hygiene is better than any goat or cow that you might find. So I just think it makes more sense to use human milk for human soap. Okay, so I think that kind of covers, the why of what we're doing today. I want to talk a little bit more about the formulation. I'm going to put a screenshot up here of my recipe in Soap Calc, so you're welcome to freeze that out and screenshot it and see. It's a very, very simple recipe. A couple things to note, I am doing 70% olive oil, 20% avocado oil, and 10% shea butter. I am using a 2% super fat. This deviates from my normal vibe where I do about a 5% super fat. The reason I've decreased the super fat is because this is a mostly liquid oil soap, and it will take longer to come to trace, and you just don't need a lot of extra unsaponified oil in there because it is going to be a softer soap because of that and take a little bit longer to set up in the mold. So we don't need a 5% super fat. I'm doing a 2% super fat. Also, because there is some fat in breast milk, it will also kind of bump up that super fat just a little bit as well. And then another thing to note about my recipe is I use a 1.7 to 1 liquid to lye ratio. In this case, I am doing 100% water replacement with the breast milk. So normally I would do 1.7 water to 1 part lye, but this is a full water replacement, so it's gonna be all breast milk. Let's see, what else to mention about that? I think that's it. It is unscented. I'm not adding any other additives. I thought about adding oatmeal to it, but this is my first time ever making a Bastille soap. And I thought, let's just reduce the variables and just see how that comes out before we tinker with it and add more items. So with all that said, let's get right into making the soap. So here is the process for adding our lye in crystal form to the frozen breast milk. So it's hard to see, but the breast milk itself is frozen, and also underneath of the breast milk, I have another jar that is filled with ice. So the milk is frozen, and I also have it on an ice bath. And basically you just want to add about a teaspoon or less of lye at a time, and then keep it stirred up. And this is all to help it not scorch. Now in hindsight, even though I am working slowly here, I probably would have gone back and done even smaller amounts of lye added at a time. But nonetheless, it's working great. You could see it's getting liquid. I like to test the temperatures as I go, and it was about 63 degrees here. That's Fahrenheit. As the video continues, you will see the breast milk start to get a little more yellow in color. This is because of the addition of the lye. I did end up scorching it just a bit. It's not going to completely ruin your bar of soap, but it is an aesthetic issue and can cause a little bit of a funny smell. So in hindsight, I wish I had gone more slowly with the lye. And here it's getting up to like over 96 degrees. So today I am using a cube mold that I got from Brambleberry. It is, I think it's 4 by about 2.5 by 3.5. And we're making a batch that's going to be about 15 ounces of oils to go in here. So that's the oil amount, not the total batch amount. So I'm going to get my oils. I am heating my oils in the microwave. A lot of times when I make the big batches, I put them in a big pot over the stove, but when I do these small batches, I use the microwave. Okay, this is about 130 degrees, so I'm just gonna continue to stir it, and the rest of the bits of the shea butter, they're not quite melted, will melt soon. I do apologize for the background noise. I'll try to edit some of that out. We're having some yard work done, and this is the only time that I had to make this video, so I just have to roll with it. So there are no additional additives to this recipe, so I'm going to go ahead and add my lye solution and get this mixed up in here. Now, because this is a recipe with a high percentage of liquid fats or unsaturated fats, it is going to take, I predict, a little bit to come to trace, which is why I put it in a smaller bowl as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit it with the stick blender and see if we can't get this emulsion started. So we actually already have a light trace, so I think my idea of using 10% shea butter as well as maintaining a slight water discount has paid off. I will also mention that the oils were at about 130 degrees. Still, the mixture is at about 105 degrees right now with the addition of bringing the temp down with the iced lye and breast milk solution. So anyway, the point is, I'm soaping at a much higher temperature than I normally soap at. I normally soap around anywhere between 90 to 100 degrees, and this was, you know, quite a lot higher than that, so that helps it come to trace faster as well. I would not do that if I was trying to make a bunch of swirls or anything, but since this is a plain, unscented soap, I figure why not help it come to trace faster. I like to tamp out some of the air bubbles, and then we'll get this poured. I also find that using my spatula can help get out some of the air bubbles. Even though I burnt my hand blender, for some reason, this particular blender makes more air bubbles than the previous one that I had. I used that one until it died, and anyway, it's not been such a problem that I've rushed out to get a different stick blender and trying to use what I've already paid for, but that is annoying. If anyone has any other tips for that, please leave them in the comments below. I do know to burp it, I do that every time, but I guess it's just this brand. This one is Hamilton Beach. So if you know of any brands of stick blenders that don't do that, please let me know. All right, we'll just pour it in. Now, I am not doing any texturing on the top today because I want to cut this bar different than I normally cut the bars. I want to make them not as wide, but a little fatter. And I'm now going to set this aside and let this set up. Now, normally I cut my bars 24 hours or less than when they were poured. A lot of times it's only like 16 to 18 hours. However, again, because there's no coconut oil in this recipe, there's very little amounts of hard oils, it may take longer to set up and be ready to unmold, which is what I'm predicting. So this might have to sit for even 48 hours before I cut it. Let me just check the temperature again. It's at 101 degrees right now. So coming up next, I am gonna check it again in about an hour and see how hot it gets during the gel process. I never force my gel, I never insulate, and especially not on this recipe because I don't wanna scorch the breast milk. However, I'm just gonna check it. I am always curious, I like to monitor how hot they get, and then we'll be checking it tomorrow morning, and then stick around for the cut because I'm so excited to share that with you guys. And then also a lather test, and I will be evaluating how different this bar is based on versus my normal recipe. So stay tuned for all that, and I'll see you tomorrow or the next day for that. Okay guys, here's my first check on the soap. Okay, it is about 105 degrees right now. I poured it about 20 minutes ago. So we'll continue to check on it. It is setting up nicely though. You can see that it's hardening. You don't have, we're not disturbing the top. It doesn't look liquid anymore. All right guys, it's the next day. It's about 30 hours since I poured this. And here is my Bastille baby soap. I am so excited. Look at that beautiful creamy color that it is. It's set up very firm in the mold here. It smells beautiful. It just has a natural soap smell, and it's just quite lovely. It's hard to describe, it just smells clean and fresh, and it's come away from the sides of the mold quite easily. So let's unmold this, see what we're working with here. There we go. There we go, it's come away from the bottom. I just gotta get it out the rest of the way. Uh-oh, hey little man. Hey little one, do you need help? Okay, there we go. A beautiful cube of soap. Absolutely lovely. Again, this is just for personal use. Beautiful. All right, just checking on the kiddo. So I usually cut my soaps using my wire soap cutter, if you've seen my other videos, but I thought I would try this kind of old school, has a crinkle or a scalloped edge cutter, because I want to have different dimensions for these bars than I normally have. Normally I would cut this into 4 bars and get 4 bars that are about 3.5 by 2.5 by about 1 inch. But yeah, I want to make these a little fatter. So I think I'm going to cut it into roughly thirds and then in halves and see how that goes. Ooh, it's harder than I thought it would be. It's set up way harder than I thought. Wow. Look at that, bud. Cool, I love this. So you really don't need huge pieces of soap for babies because they don't actually use a lot of soap. And in fact, I'm gonna let this cure for at least 6 weeks since it has a lot more soft butters in it. But I'm very happy with how this turned out. Beautiful, mild soap. It's gonna be great for my little boy, and this will last us for, I don't know, probably a year, to be honest with you, because you don't bathe babies as often as us adults bathe. So here we are 6 weeks later, and I'm trying this soap out to see how the lather is. The first thing that I notice is it's a really silky, smooth, slippery texture to the bar. And it is lathering up nicely, but it's a very small bubble. This is because we didn't include some of those big bubble oils like castor oil or coconut oil.
but you can see that it's just so mild and gentle, lots of tiny little bubbles, exactly what we want for a baby or a little one. And I was also surprised that it rinsed off quite nicely, which is also what you want for a little baby.
This is it, guys. I thank you so much. I like that these look like little building blocks. Perfect for a little boy. We'll build a little tower here, Atlas. Here we go. Yeah, so this is my breast milk Bastille soap for babies. Very simple recipe. If you try this recipe or if you have a similar recipe, please let me know in the comments. Please subscribe. I have plenty more soap making videos. I also do videos on all things homegrown and homemade. Got a lot of canning videos, herbal tea recipe videos coming up. So I hope to see you guys back here and have an awesome day.